is how are we teaching our body smart, nature smart kids to also learn in the classroom, but how are we also addressing their need for movement to learn? How are we doing that? Or any other thoughts you have? Lisa, go ahead.
It's great to have students work on the board if I teach math. So I find that the ones, and usually it's the athletes, they need to get up and move. And so when they get up and write problems on the board, I think it's great. That's a great way to.
Awesome. Bianca?
In my reading class, we often stand chanting. That helps because kids keep from standing. And also we march quite a bit.
And that helps everybody, doesn't it?
It sure does.
Yes. Chanting and marching.
I just look. I mean, I am a nature smart person, but I just look for any opportunity I can to get outside with my class. Anytime. It's hard with our little windows of time, but thankfully I'm close to a door, and it's just like get outside.
Yeah, that's great. And having this property, pretty awesome, right?
We do lots of brain breaks, so anything from like little really embarrassing chants to like I'll make my kids like do squats and like push-ups and stuff, and they have the worst form ever, but like some of them get so geeked out about having to do squats, like they're challenging each other to do how many that they possibly can, and you can tell it's just so good for them just to take that break and put that weight on themselves. And
And that's good for all the kids, right?
oh yes.
How about your pre-K, K, younger kids? Any ideas there? And you know, that kid who doesn't have a nature smart as a top four, it's still really, really good for them to learn that, right? How about you? Go ahead.
I was going to say that in our class too, when Ash was talking about squats and stuff, we do that. We get up and do it, but we do it either we'll do counting by fives or counting by tens, or when we do phonograms, we're constantly moving while we're doing phonograms. So it's not just rote, but it's a constant movement of trying to be able to do that flow. But we also do something when sometimes when the kids get upset or I could tell the energy's really high. We do something called box breathing, which is it's just
Bots breathing.
box breathing, and Navy SEALs use this for all sorts of stuff. But you can it's breathing in, counting to four, holding it for four, pushing it out for four, and then having everything out for four. But it's trying to so whenever we've been up and running around and doing stuff, trying to get that energy out, so I can try and rein them back in. That's what I'll do with them.
And all that, I'll get to you. All that effort helps those body smart kids not take it out physically on other kids at recess, too, because they might.
When it is a time that has to be a seated time and paying attention time, I've learned that gum is very helpful for a body smart kiddo because at least something is moving.
Yes, and I think we allow gum for those body smart kids, and it does help them. Yes. How about in our older grades with our dialogue and in our classes and our Socratic discussion? What are we doing with our body smart kids there? Or is it a problem? Have they figured out self-control by then?
So I've been thinking a lot about what it means to be body smart and where do you make space for that in grammar school and even at homeschool because Eli that's probably his top is body smart. And I actually think a lot about Peter Dusane. I think he's pretty body smart.
Oh, yes.
And you know, you're always my worry is always, well, he's got to learn to sit still because well, why does he have to learn to sit still? And I start thinking about all these successful people I know who are incredibly body smart. And I remember when Philip used to work at church with Peter, they would take walking meetings. Yes. They would, and I think of my dad who has to sit through these long, drawn out days of meetings, and he'll get up and he'll pace, and you just work it in. You find ways to make it work, and you can still be successful. So it's just not a thing to fear like what I always felt like it was.
And you know what else? that's interesting is that body smart people, not all of them, but like Peter has a built-in office in his house. He's a pastor. He has it where he stands. He has a high chair that he can sit in if he wants to, but some kids do better. I noticed that with Jude is that they do better standing. They don't always want to sit to learn. They want to stand sometime. No, we can't necessarily do that in the classroom, but at home with our parents and giving these opportunities for these kids to learn in different ways, I think is really, really important.
I think also, like with the Body Smart, anytime we do skits, anytime we do activities where they're up and they're moving, that does speak to the Body Smart students. And then one of the things I did last year in 8th grade English was when we would learn our recitations, we would go outside and I would make them be by themselves or with just one partner so that they actually were memorizing. And they would just walk around the carpool loop, and as they're walking, they're memorizing. And so that was for those.
So word smart and body smart working all together there. That's awesome. Any other thoughts on that? Well, the final two are the intra and interpersonal smarts, people smart and self-smart. So I want to kind of spend some time thinking on these two things. People smart people think with others. They think with people. When they're excited, they talk. They sense what's going on with others. They read body language well. Their interactions express high energy, and connection is the source of their power. These are the kids who often become leaders. It can be a misguided leadership ability in that they could use their gifts to manipulate others too. They can either build consensus and peace or they can manipulate. And smart people need people to listen to them, interact with them, react to their ideas, are often word smart too. At the high end of the people smart hierarchy is the child who accurately discerns someone's mood, intentions, and desires and knows how to respond appropriately. So that's what you're kind of looking for in your leader, right? So in people smart people, it helps them to refine their ideas when they're tossing ideas back and forth. They love discussion. The Socratic dialogue would be awesome for people smart people there. But they also discern disappointment in others. It's good for them to learn how not to irritate others and get on their bad side, and they can do that easier because they're pretty aware, because they interpret facial reactions, body language, and tone of voice. Now, it's interesting, Kathy Cook makes the point that there are people smart extroverts and people smart introverts, that you can be very aware of people and aware of their emotions and feelings and this idea of connecting with ideas, but the people smart extroverts may be confused if they don't have clarity here, because they can be quiet and reflective thinkers and grow fatigued with being with people even though they have a people smartness about them. So it doesn't necessarily mean you're an extrovert. It simply means that you're still wanting to connect, but you also need time alone. So connection is their power. Their greatest challenge is to be without input for any lengthy period, okay? That's your people smart extroverts. They really, really want that connection. As a co-teacher at home or even in the classroom, they love role play, drama, discussions, demonstrations, just bouncing those ideas. You're gonna have long discussions between two people smart people. Now, people smart people, because they read people, don't trust adults who are hypocrites. They're looking for your life to live out what you say. So your body language is really as important as the words, and your actions are too. So they're really quick to also not trust if they don't see your actions lining up with what you say. Spiritually, they enjoy God's attributes that relate to interrelating with people, love, mercy, grace, forgiveness. They're gonna grow in their faith by interacting with others. Small groups work really well where they're allowed to talk and share their ideas. They may struggle to worship alone, and kind of group devotion sometimes work better for these kids. Discipleship-wise, I think we need to keep a real eye on these kids, in that many times your negative influencers, your gang leaders, are also people smart because they know who to target and how to manipulate others. So teaching these kids team building skills and increasing their ability to bring unity and cohesiveness to others is really, really great, because we want our people smart kids to be positive motivators, not strong manipulators. So they need to learn that self-discipline and respect of others in the process of this skill. And then on the other side, and the final one is self-smart, and that is the people who think with deep reflection within. They get excited to spend time alone, to go off by themselves and to reflect on their feelings and thoughts. They don't want to be interrogated. They prefer to kind of percolate privately. They don't need or want a lot of input, and they can even come across as disinterested, standoffish, and prideful. But they want to think of their own ideas first before they're thinking with others, so they're going to really think through things. And it can come across as unfriendly where it really isn't. They do, however, struggle sometimes to remain open to other people's ideas because their own self-knowledge and deep thinking is something they can be satisfied with on their own. They're going to always consider all their knowledge before answering. They tend to be your quiet, independent workers and thinkers. Your self-smart kids, to trust you, you need to know them. You need to learn to value their thoughts and letting them know that you do. They enjoy journaling their thoughts and prayers. I think it's really interesting that Kathy Cook makes a distinction that there are people who are both people smart and self-smart, okay? I want to spend a little time on this because it's kind of important. She says anyone who has both of these in their top 4 may live in a state of internal stress and confusion until they understand this. They can seem moody and with high swings because they don't always know who they are or where to go or what they should even do. So they can tend to have some conflict because of this internal stress or confusion. When they're equally skilled at both, they simply feel inconsistent. And understanding this frees them up. Speaking of one person who is this way, sorry, Christy, I just put you on the spot. Christy and I have had discussions about this about her because she's one of those. But one interesting thing Kathy Cook says is that people who are equally strong in people and self skills are going to be your greatest influentials, and they need to be parented and discipled well. So to be looking at your kids, because these are the kids who will be able to truly influence people well. Isn't that interesting? So in terms of self-smarts kids, they need that peace and privacy, okay? They get joy from knowing what they kind of know internally. Their power is reflection and knowing what comes from that. And they want to get their answers right. Their knowledge is important. They want to get it right. And here again, you can be self-smart extrovert and self-smart introvert. So your self-smart extrovert is going to feel conflicted again at times where your self-smart introvert kind of really needs more time alone, but really is okay with that. They're the kids who are going to benefit from individualized instruction and assignments that they can complete independently. These are the kids you might have to help find friends rather than telling them to go find friends. But again, you need to validate their thoughts and let them know that you do. They're going to prefer quiet times over family devotions. They may enjoy journaling. These are the kids that love personal testimonies because they often put themselves in the speaker's shoes. Discipleship-wise, they can be judged too harshly for seeming to be disinterested, too quiet, or self-centered, and it isn't always the case. They just think of their ideas first before they think of others. They do need to be guarded against pride, however, and to learn to be open to other people's ideas, but they do value that self-discipline and usually have a really high standard for themselves. So to wrap up self-smart, people smart, it's just an interesting combination, and I've been thinking a lot about this because there are kids who are people smart, there are kids who are self-smart, and then there are those who have both. And I think this area of interpersonal relationship, if we can understand and nurture that, would go a long way in helping our kids even just find peace in their relationships. So let's spend a little bit of time talking about those two and how it relates to you and to your students.